Do you feel anxious every Sunday night because you dread going to or starting work on Monday? Do you find yourself walking on eggshells when you're on a call with or even around your boss, never knowing what mood they'll be in? Or maybe you are constantly second guessing yourself because every time you ask for clarification about a project or a task, you're told to just figure it out, but then you're criticized when you don't do things the right way. If any of this sounds familiar, your job might actually be toxic, so let's talk about it. In this video, I'm going to define what exactly a toxic job is because I know that that word gets thrown around a lot. So I want us to be on the same page. And then I'm going to share with you 5 really subtle signs that your workplace is toxic. Signs that are so normalized today in many companies that you might not even recognize them as glaring red flags that you need to be aware of. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for in a company and have a clear path forward if you recognize your workplace as being one of these toxic examples. If you're new here, hello, hi, and if you're a regular viewer, welcome back. I'm Dr. Tega. I'm a faith-based career coach who helps professional women leave draining, soul-sucking jobs that they hate and land higher paying, more fulfilling careers that they love. After leaving my own unfulfilling career path and now doing fulfilling work over the past decade, I am on a mission to help more women experience the joy, the satisfaction, and the confidence that comes with doing work that is aligned with the gifts that God has given you. Let's get into today's video. So before we dive into the signs that your job might be toxic, let's get clear about what makes a workplace toxic, because it's not just about hard work or high expectations. Those can actually be quite positive in the right environment. And it's not occasional stress or having a lot of work to do. A toxic workplace is one that makes you feel psychologically unsafe and impacts you physically, mentally, relationally, and emotionally. It's a place where you are walking on eggshells, you're losing sleep because of your work, you're snapping at your family because of your work, or you always feel anxious on Sunday nights because you dread the idea of going into work on Monday. So, that being said, what then are some signs that your job is actually toxic? The first sign is a figure it out culture. This is when your workplace has no clear processes, expectations change constantly, and you're technically expected to read people's minds. Here's what this can look like. Maybe you ask for clarification on a project and your supervisor tells you to just figure it out or use your judgment. But then when you make decisions using your judgment, you are criticized for not doing it the right way, even though no one told you what the right way was in the first place. Maybe you've been given a task with zero context, no deadline, and when you ask questions, you're made to feel like you should already know what to do. Or perhaps the company has different unwritten rules that everyone is supposed to magically understand without actually being explicitly stated. This creates constant stress because you're always guessing and never sure if you're doing things correctly. And that constant state of stress eventually starts wearing your body down and causes you to start doubting yourself and your own skills. Being in that kind of situation long-term is toxic for your health and confidence. The second sign that your job is actually toxic is when gaslighting is disguised as feedback. This happens when legitimate concerns that you raise are dismissed and turned back on you as personal flaws. So let's say you bring up a problem with a process and you are told something like, you're just being too negative, or you need to be more positive. And when you mention feeling overwhelmed with your workload, you hear things like, you need to manage your time better. You need to be better at structuring your time, instead of anyone actually looking at whether your workload is actually reasonable. Or maybe you've experienced something like this where you point out that a deadline is unrealistic, and when you do, you're told you're not being a team player or everyone else is managing just fine, making you question your own competence instead of them actually addressing the real issue, the workload. This communication style slowly chips away at your confidence over time, and it even chips away at your sense of safety, making it toxic to your health. The third sign that your job might actually be toxic is when high turnover in the company is blamed on wrong fit. In healthy workplaces, when people leave frequently, leadership actually examines their practices. They try to figure out what the problem is. In toxic workplaces, it is always the employee's fault. You'll hear things like, they just weren't cut out for us. They just weren't the right cultural fit. They couldn't handle our fast paced environment, which is a red flag, mind you, every time someone quits. But if you pay attention, you will notice that good people keep leaving, especially people who ask questions or even just try to improve things at the organization. Maybe you've even seen multiple people leave your team in the past year, but instead of anyone stopping to ask, what's causing this? There's always an excuse about why that person just wasn't right for the role. That is most definitely a sign of poor management that can make a work environment extremely stressful and toxic for you. Now, before I go on to the fourth sign, if you are recognizing that your workplace is toxic based on these signs and you want to learn how to leave your job and land a job you love without starting over in your career, I have a free training where I teach you just how to do that. And I'm going to share that link with you at the end of this video. But in the meantime, if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. It really just helps other women find this content when they need it the most. And when you subscribe, it makes sure that you don't miss future videos from me, and it also helps this channel grow. Thank you. Okay, so back to the signs of a toxic job. The fourth sign that your workplace just might be toxic is when everything is always an emergency. That emergency everything culture happens when poor planning at the leadership level creates constant crisis mode for everybody else. Everything is urgent. Everything is a fire drill. And you are expected to drop everything you're doing at the drop of a hat for the crisis of the day. But when you look closer, most of these emergencies could have actually been prevented with better planning or communication. Maybe you have experienced having literally your entire day derailed because somebody else didn't plan ahead. Or you're being asked to work late because a critical deadline suddenly appeared out of thin air, even though the project has been in the works for months. This creates a culture where strategic and creative thinking is impossible because everybody is always in reactive mode. You are always activated, you're always on alert, and your nervous system doesn't actually get to fully relax and regulate at work. The fifth and final sign that your workplace might be toxic is when you are in a mood-dependent workplace. This is when everyone's day depends on how the boss is feeling, and the emotional temperature of the office changes based on a person's mood. You can tell when your manager had a bad morning because the whole team is now walking on eggshells. People actually warn each other, be careful, she's in a bad mood today, or wait until the afternoon to ask him about that. They are literally sending side chats on Teams during the meetings. They're whispering when they're not in the room, or even talking about your boss outside of work. Maybe you've even found yourself checking your boss's facial expressions before you decide whether you want to approach them about something that you're concerned about or with a question. Or maybe you've even noticed that the entire team's mood and energy literally shifts based on whether the leadership is happy or stressed. This creates an environment where you are constantly managing somebody else's emotions instead of focusing on your own work and regulating your own self. So those are the 5 subtle signs that your workplace just might be toxic. If you recognize your workplace in any of these signs that I shared today, you're not being too sensitive and you're definitely not imagining things. These are some really clear signs that your work environment might not be the healthiest place to be in, and it might be impacting your well-being. Now, the good news is that you don't have to stay stuck in that job. You can find a workplace that respects you, supports your growth, and doesn't require you to sacrifice your mental health just to pay your bills. If you want to learn exactly how to leave your toxic job without starting over in your career, then you should definitely register for my free training, Leave Your Miserable Job, where I will show you exactly how to land a job you love in 2 simple steps. You can register for that training at leaveyourmiserablejob.com or click that link in the episode video description below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below so you don't miss future videos from me that will help you in your career. And comment below. I'm curious. I'm really nosy. Let me know which of these signs resonated the most with you and your experience. What are you seeing happening in your workplace? Okay. Now, once you hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, don't click away because there is another video popping up on the screen right here. I want you to I'm going to scooch, just take a moment and watch that video because I bet it's going to continue to help you in your career.